Peace, love, and blessings to the brothers on the highways and byways, giving all diligence to make it call and election sure, and blessings to the very few sisters out there listening, learning, and believing. I'm that fellow Abraham Kanakla, coming at you once again with another lesson, Lord's will, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham. Yahweh Shai's lessons edifying and exhorting. And America is finished. He who lived by the sword, all right, and basically America, which was established by the Edomites, all right, Esau, Edom, the descendants of Esau, all right, the Edomites under the name or identified today as white people, which is why we call them so-called white people, that established this European empire that you see today, all right, NATO, the EU, okay, EU, America, all right, those are the Edomites, the establishment, all right, of those regions in this current empire. But he who lived by the sword, okay, as that's a quote Yahweh Shai made, if we can start out with that real fast. 1 second. Who lives, all right, and this is when Peter, all right, and we'll get right to the point on it. It says, then said Yahweh unto him, put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Okay, and if you know Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the history is found in Genesis, all right, the first book of Moses, all right, and we're going to get right to it. It's Genesis 27:27, and he came near to speaking about Jacob, Esau's brother, the sons of Isaac, all right, and Rebekah. It says, and he came near and kissed him and smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. And you can get the context of this whole story of Jacob and Esau. All right. It says, therefore, God give thee of the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee. All right. That's the blessing. Let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone who curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. So that was a blessing that Jacob received, which was supposed to be allotted to Esau, because Esau was born first. But we know this is all set up through the spirit. All right, the scripture say the elder shall serve the younger. Okay, so it was set up that way in the spirit. But that's the blessing Jacob received. Basically, rulership and dominion over the planet Earth. Okay. And that's that power, that dominion, without having to rule by the sword. Okay. It says, it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce going out of the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am the son, thy firstborn, Esau, which according to the tradition, or the law, I should say, which sometimes those go hand in hand. All right, the firstborn is supposed to receive the inheritance. Okay, you saw that between Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay, where I believe Manasseh was the eldest, but Ephraim received the bigger blessing. All right, he was blessed first. It says, Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. Okay, That's that blessing, that dominion, man, over the planet Earth. All right, it says, and when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. So this is the forefather, the progenitor of the so-called white people, Esau, Edom. This is, and he said, thy brother came with subtlety and have taken away thy blessing. All right, Jacob and Esau. Jacob, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob, for he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, which no accountability here. Esau, Edom, he sold his birthright. Okay. He says, behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine I have sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? All right, corn and wine, representation of riches. Okay, wealth. All right. It says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said to him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. And that's what Esau has right now. The fatness of the earth, the best parts of the earth, the best of everything, the best of the resources, right? It says, in the dew of heaven from above. But this is the point, verse 40. And by the sword shalt thou live. So he received all those things by the blessing of the sword, which is just simply the weapon, his weaponry, right? When you think about the establishment of America, how was it? All right, by the literal sword. Okay, Christopher Colon and all those other devils came over here. All right, and of course they had musket guns. Okay, the Gatling gun. Let's not forget about that. Biological warfare, the smallpox, which is also considered a sword, the weapon, because it's a weapon. And then just look at the modern times, basically how America has basically went round with its military and just invading nations and taking everybody's things. But that's what it said, and by the sword shalt thou live. Okay, so that was the blessing he received. That's why you other nations were subdued by America. Why? Because it's sword, it's military, especially after World War II. All right, when they dropped that sword on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. All right, it was the hydrogen bomb, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So it says, and by the sword shall thou live. But what did Yahushua say? He that liveth by the sword shall perish by the sword. Okay? Because you just can't rule. You can't have an everlasting rulership by the sword. Okay, you see that with we'll come back to Genesis 27:40. Gotta make sure I remember that. Proverbs. Let's get that in. That's why it's called a proverb. It's wisdom. Was it Proverbs 29? Yep. Proverbs 29:2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So when you rule righteously, justly, all right, off the laws and statutes, commandments, which the scriptures speak about, not removing a landmark, all right, basically taking over people's land. The Lord gave every nation their portion of their plot on a planet, so to say. Okay, so it's not up to you to go around and just rape, rob, and murder and take everybody's gifts. But hey, that's the blessing you got, the sword. But when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice. When you rule fairly and justly, all right, when you rule justly off the laws and statutes, commandments, you keep the people. It's a righteous dominion where people aren't thinking about raising up arms and getting you back. All right, because you're ruling in righteousness. All right. It says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And the wicked is bearing rule. All right, they have that dominion, and they're doing it wickedly by the sword. Okay, so that's the point there. So is this ruling by the sword, all right, and not ruling in righteousness and justice, all right, not moving justly. It's a bitter end to that. All right, we're going to get it. It says, by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. It shall come to pass when thou shalt have dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Basically, when the Edomites revolted from under the, I believe, the dominion of Judah, so to say. But that's a different topic, But what proves that? Let's get this in Isaiah 14th chapter. All right, because you see all these nations. You just had the North Korean president, the Chinese president, and Russia, which the Russians are Edomites too, as well. But the Russian aren't in a position of power like America is. Okay, but you just saw these nations come together to overthrow America. Okay, because the way it's ruling, it even weaponizes its currency, its dollar. Okay, and by the way of sanctions, it weaponized everything. Okay, Isaiah 14:1 says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob." Okay, that's the only nation promised mercy, the nation of Israel, and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the stranger shall be joined with them, Israelite foreigners. Okay, and it says, and they shall cleave unto the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. Okay, so there's going to be slaves, man. The nations are going into captivity. It says, and they shall take them captives. Who captives they were? Were not we captives here in America under the Edomites? Absolutely. It says, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And we've endured nothing but oppression over here in this Western world. And all over the world, really, but mainly here in this Western hemisphere. It says, and shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow. All right, because that sorrow is nonstop. Okay, but the Lord will give us rest from it. It says, and from thy fear, just like the fear is nonstop, but the Lord's going to give us rest from it. It says, from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve, in bondage of servitude, we're going to receive rest, man. It says, thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. And that currently right now, who's in that seat? Trump. He's the king of Babylon. And say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased. The Lord have broken a staff of the wicked and a scepter of the rulers. Okay, and that's his power. Okay, because you notice a champion. Just look at Mike Tyson for instance, when the spirit was on him. Okay, it wasn't just his brute physical force and power that he had, that he was able to be so dominant. It was just the aura, the spirit, all right, the influence that he came with. So the Lord has broken that. Okay, backed it up. Jeremiah, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. So that fear factor is no longer there. This is the point I wanted to get at right here. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, and that's what America has done, has smoked the people in wrath with a continual stroke, nonstop. Okay? It says, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. What do you mean by none hindereth? All right? Nobody interfering. Because why? Because these people are ready for this place to fall. Okay? Nobody's going to interrupt it because they want it to happen. But he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. So here it is now. We at the end, and all these things have come. Well, as they say, the chickens have come home to roost, man. Okay? This is it. Habakkuk 2 verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And we're at the end, and it's clearly speaking. America is finished, man. People are literally witnessing and are seeing that the economy is completely collapsing under Trump. And is not, that's not a mystery. That's not, people are seeing it. It's clear. It says, but and it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. It says, behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And that's the righteous. Verse 5, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, that's his philosophy. All right. His democracy. Spearhead his democracy. Okay. His policies. It says, yea, because he transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. All right. And that's, America is not, his focus has not been on literally building America. It's been all in foreign affairs. Okay. It says, who enlargeth his desire is hell, and is as death. All right. And that's all he brings when he goes to these nations, these countries, invading them. That's all he brings. This cannot be satisfied. But look, just started another war with Venezuela. All right? Just war. This is a war machine, man. But gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? So again, he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. And their taunting power against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. And again, he just basically strong, what I think it's called, strong arm robbery. Just robbing the people. Basically holding everybody at gunpoint and just saying, hey, give me your stuff. All right, and if you don't, they pull that trigger and they just take everything from you. Okay? It says, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And him that ladeth himself with thick clay. All right? And that thick clay is debt, man. America's trillions upon trillions of dollars in debt. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? And thou shalt be for booties unto them. And booties mean spoils. Okay? So they're going to rise up and bite thee. And they're doing it now. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood, again, Esau, Edom, living by the sword. And for the violence of the land and of the city and of all that dwell therein. Okay? Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house. And what the scriptures speak about, thou shalt not covet. Covet not, roughly paraphrasing. Taking somebody else's stuff, desiring someone else's property. It says that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. All right? It's taking people's stuff, man. And that's what they do. It's like someone coming in your house robbing and kicking you out. And now they there and just sitting there comfortably. In your shit, man. Alright? But that's the point. You know, he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword, shall perish by the sword, man. So basically all you see this judgment coming upon this place is because this devil has gained everything by the sword, by the weapon. That's it. So that's a short dominion. All right, that has an end to it. Okay? And that's basically what's happening. That's that proverb. He that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. Okay? So I'm going to basically leave it there. You know, this is like, what do you expect at this point? All right? It's not going to go on forever. And right now we at the turning point. The pivotal point. All right? In a decline of Babylon the Great, aka America. So, all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai, and Shalom to the light.